Oh, thank you.
So now it's recording. Maybe I will share my screen for a moment. And let's start with vowel harmony. Now let's go to Wikipedia, for instance. And maybe they will have some examples. So the main idea of the vowel harmony is that you have some feature. So it works like assimilation when some units change the feature due to the features that present in the some other units nearby. So the easiest way of thinking this is as assimilation. So when we have assimilation, we have two sounds together, and then they share some features. So for instance, in Russian, it will be voice feature. So we have some prefixes, and this prefix will have voiced consonant if the stem starts with the voiced one, and voiceless if the stem starts with the voiceless one. And this kind of change could be treated as assimilation to the following consonant. And here we have the harmony is actually the same process, but this influence is long distant. So for instance, here is vowel, and some vowel influence some other vowels afterwards. So here's an example for, I don't know, some morpheme like dative. So you have nak and neck. And this is the same morpheme, but the vowel in there governs by the vowels in the root. So here we have, what kind of harmony is this? Maybe it's
like frontness, backness.
Yeah, maybe like this. Yeah, looks like this. And then we have these features over there. So here, if we have stem with back vowels, then A will appear. If we have stem with front vowels, then A will appear. And this is like a simple case and more or less standard one. So each morpheme in this language will have these two formants. And then you need to somehow accommodate to the vowels in the root. So the same story is for consonants is actually really rare. So it's not like that you see much of this in languages, but I think that I've seen it once in one language, and probably I would have seen this. Maybe it was North American language. I can recall. Maybe Anya can remember. So with the consonants is actually a rare story. But sometimes it's happened. Yeah. So yes, and this is so actually the story about harmony is sometimes more complex. So for instance, here we assume that there are two types of stems, and morpheme will accommodate to them according to the features of the stem. But sometimes there is a nice, beautiful phonological stories about some vowels that actually can be present in both stems. So for instance, I think even maybe it's about Turkic languages or some, or maybe even about Hungarian, that I think E is transparent to harmony. So E can appear in both stems. So if there is one syllable word, it actually leads us to the nice story when we have one syllable word that contains only E vowel, then we have a question, because if E is transparent to the harmony, we actually can't predict based on this information what kind of ending will be there, and this is lexical information of the stem. And another thing that sometimes there is some in this harmony story, there is another beautiful case is when you have blockage, so some edge or some kind of type sounds that block the harmony, and then you don't have it afterwards. We won't have any of this, and the story about what I want to have is about quasi-harmony. So what I expect from those languages, that they will have some tendencies, but it won't be a rule. So in Hungarian, we have a rule. It's impossible. So for instance, it's impossible to have a root with the back vowels and then combined with some front vowels, for instance. It's not the case for Nakhtagistanian languages, since all of them probably have all kind of combinations. But what I found once was, maybe I have it here in this chapter. Or maybe I don't. I can't recall. So once I described phonology of Mihweb, is it here or not? Yeah, it's no, it's not. Ah, maybe no. No, it's not here in the article. Yes, maybe it's not in an article. Then I will try to go here.
So you said it had something to do with the phonology?
Sorry?
You said it had something to do with the phonology of the language?
What, harmony is definitely phonological play around. It's more phonological. So it has its own. So it has its own acoustic features, and probably there will be some. So it's a line. But no, maybe I didn't understand the question. Sorry.
No, you just like when you were looking through the article, you said something like about something like phonology, something. Did you get it?
Yeah. I was describing phonology of the Mihweb language, and this is Dargwa, one of the neighboring branch of the Nakhtagistanian language. So we were most working on Andic, and this is another one. And I described the phonology of Mihweb, and I during the this description, I found out some patterns, and I hope that it's possible to somehow get the old version.
But if we're looking for some tendencies, not like strict rules, doesn't it mean that we can actually find them in any language, like at all?
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
Oh no. This is another article about Mihweb, but you don't need it. Where is it? Maybe it's here. Yeah, maybe it's here. Yeah, it's here, but maybe I want to show something without comments. So over here. So here I analyzed two-syllable roots. And then you see that there is some tendencies that, for instance, a, I, ui, ua, uu. And then you see that the frequency of those combinations is really different. So it's like the a is really common. And for some reason, it's over 20% of words is a. And all other cases I actually, so they don't have much vowels actually. So those are vowels. So they have a and pharyngalized one, e, a, u. and U.
That's a lot of vowels, actually.
Yes, but pharyngalized vowels are actually really rare. So what you have mostly is E, E, A, U. And as you see in these patterns over here, maybe we have frequency of vowels itself. So here is the single vowel frequencies. So let's focus on them. So we see that I is 38, E is 27, U is 23, and A is 6. And it appears that E somehow is marginal vowel over there.
I have a
But
question.
yeah.
Like in the table, like with the 2-syllable roots, does the order matter?
I can't remember, but probably it's not.
Okay.
No, doesn't make any sense. Then.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
matter. Maybe it's matter. Maybe it's written here. No.
Yeah, I mean, but well, it shouldn't matter, right? Since it's just a 2-syllable.
Yeah, it can matter. So because it's possible to have UE and EU. So the idea behind this, maybe I think it's matter. So yeah. So the idea that I want to show here, so we have all those combinations, and we can analyze frequency of vowels, for instance. And even if we focus on those vowels, not those one, pharyngalized rare one, we'll see that actually we accept if we have, so if we randomly pick, it's not the case that language randomly pick from those frequency in order to form 2-syllable words, 3-syllable words, and so on, because they are not like evenly distributed. So it appears that there are some tendency of the vowel ordering that maybe reflects some history or something. And I think your work for both of you is somehow get these strange patterns that are appear. Because if we have 4 vowels, we'll have something like what? Choose 4, 2. Yeah. So it will be 6 possibilities. And we can calculate the probability to have all of them according to this frequency, and they won't match with these frequencies that we see here. And this is like it should be easier for vowels, but it will be. So I think the idea behind is more or less simple. But for vowels, you will see more or less browsable table, but for constants it will be huge, but you still can collect something. And another thing that when we talk about harmony, so this is like I would call this boost of maybe I'm wrong, and this is more or less reasonable to have this amount of So I just didn't check it with the frequency. What is the probability to have them? We can multiply actually like them, and so we expect them to be something like what? Be something like 0.14, but it's 0.19. So whether it's reasonable or not, I don't know. We need to have the whole distribution and see what's going on there and whether the difference is statistically significant. But if it's not, yeah, is it clear? Move or not?
Yeah, it is pretty clear, but I wanted to ask, so so these words are two-syllable words, right? Not words, but roots. But it doesn't matter.
Mm,
Okay,
it could
so
matter, but I think it's noun roots, so it's also words in this
okay,
language.
okay. So I mean, I get it how it works with two-syllable roots, but when there are more, do we look at the pairs, like the adjacent ones, like adjacent vowels, or do we look at all of them, like at the same time? So if it's a trisyllable word, so do we look at at all the vowels at the same time? So there will be like three of them, or do we look at the pairs?
This is actually the difference between, I would say this is the difference between those methods. Because
Oh
if you
yeah.
have bag of words, it's actually, you treat them as a bag. So what is the probability of two sounds to appear in one word? And if we have Markov chain approach, it's more like look at the chains. So what is the probability that after this, for instance, vowels will be this vowel? So it's different approaches, and I think we can do both.
Okay, I see that. But when we look at the consonants, I think bag of words will be like it's gonna be a huge amount of data. Like, can I even work with it?
I think
Because
yes. With consonants, it's actually a little bit trickier. And I hope that you will come up with some nice idea about it. Because with consonants, it's a bit harder. Why? Because when we have different number of syllables, it's really easy because for all of them, diphthongs are not the case in Andic languages, I guess. So I expect them to have one syllable, one vowel. But for Anya, it will be more complicated because you have um, syllables, and it's possible to have multiple consonants in one syllable. And this is not random. And it's actually, we've spent some time analyzing this. So when we have Dargwa, the syllable structure is more or less simple, like this. And the idea that you can have anything. Oh, this is unfortunate. But I expect this guy to be actually sonorant. There are some rare exceptions, but yeah. And so the syllable structure is more or less similar for all those languages. And another thing that syllable structure actually complicates things, but we have some students who somehow worked on the syllable structure. I'm not happy with their work because it appears that their so it appears that it was at the last moment and so on and so on. But they came up with some kind of model and frequencies for different segments. And I will share those works with you. Unfortunately, they are in Russian, but it's not so important for Vanshu because for vowels it will be easier, I think. So blah, blah, blah. And after this, they have this syllable model that is that simple. So it's consonants with everything, and then I expect this to be sonorant, or B. So this is shared feature. So B is also possible to have at the coda of the syllable. Maybe they have some more examples. And maybe there are some rare cases like this. So but it won't be too complicated. And all complicated part is actually somehow connected to the how do you call it? Onomatopoeia. So like what chicken will say, coo coo coo, and so on and so on.
So would it work if I just tried like different kind of segmentations? Like maybe like at one point I would try to
Sorry,
look
I can hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me like this?
Yeah, maybe try again.
Is it better?
It's more or less the same, but I'm all ears.
Okay, so try to speak up. So would it work if I tried to like tried different segmentation? Like at first I would take a look at a syllable, then I would take a look maybe not at a syllable, but at big groups of consonants between the vowels, and then maybe I would take a look at a word as a whole. So should I do that?
You could do this, but within this syllable, the story will be more or less boring because it will be either there will be just one consonant that is the like maybe 80%, 80, so 80, or even 90 percent of cases. And then there will be more complicated, and then I expect them to be something like any obstrand, maybe any consonant in the initial part of the syllable. In the final part of the syllable, there will be sonorant or B. So this is like actually boring story. You can find some patterns over there, but I would analyze actually all initials and all codas. So trying to analyze like parts of the syllable that are really easy to extract, so it's not complicated task. Except some rare words, but it will be like less than 50. So expect some exceptions. And borrowings, this could be also a problem.
We exclude them anyway, right?
Sorry?
We exclude them anyway, right? Like borrowings.
Yes, but the annotation of borrowing is not straightforward, so it's not ideal at all. And in most cases, it just excludes Russian words and for instance, Avar, Arabic, or Persian borrowings, or Azeri. So this can complicate things. But the idea that for some dictionaries we have better annotation, and in the future we will correct this annotation for borrowings. So because we now we're annotating them by meaning. So for instance, so we split each row into the multiple rows according to that this meaning, and this meaning. And afterwards we can sort according to the meaning. And then if something is better annotated with the borrowing, it could be used for other dictionaries. And this is a trick. Did you get it?
I think I did.
So maybe I will give you some example. So imagine that we have Botlich, and in Botlich we have word 1, word 2, and we have, for instance, Andy, where we have word 3 and word 2. But this word have actually meaning 1, this have meaning 2 and meaning 3, this have meaning 4, this have meaning 2 and meaning meaning 5. And we have a notation for borrowings. So we know that, for instance, this is a borrowing. Oh, not this is boring, but boring. Okay. So over here. And this is how we have it now. And we're transforming this to this. So we want to have it like this. And when we have M2, M2, M3, this is also split to M2, M5. And the idea that after we have this, we can sort them. Maybe it's possible to show somehow. So let's have it here. Long word meaning borrowing. And if we have this kind of table, we can sort by meaning. And then suddenly realize that this Andy word is possibly also borrowing because we have a notation for another word. And we can get this. So this is like, this is the separate work that somebody will do on those dictionaries. I don't know whether you will have which version you have, but this is kind of technique. That's why we are doing this, because we'll actually come up with a lot of different things just looking at other dictionaries. So this one is borrowing, like we realized, how do you call it? Realized it just now. And this is actually means that this one also possibly borrowing. So since this is one word, okay? So this is a little bit complicated, but the idea that this is, there is only one language that was looked through and perfectly, let's say, perfectly that is the best way to do it. Annotated for borrowability, but for the rest is this work is not done well. So I think the student looked through, eliminated some Arabic, so some clear Arabic and some clear Russian borrowings, but not else. Okay.
Yeah, I see.
Okay. Oh, that's my friend. Sorry, I will come in a minute. Okay. Sorry, I'm back. So yeah, so we discussed the story about syllable structure and why Anya's work is much more complex than Wanshu's work. Yeah, and we discussed how it's connected to harmony, but it's actually, I call it quasi-harmonic effects, and this is not like true harmony. But it's nice to find out these patterns and whether they are similar in different languages. So for instance, if we have this pattern that is, for instance, common in some language, is it true that it will be the same in our other languages, or it will be somehow reflect a story? So, for instance, there were some vowel, then in one language it merged with a, and then in other language it merged with o. So we see that this pattern, like is splitted because of this, for instance. And this is also another thing to look at and analyze somehow, whether those patterns are somehow interact with words itself. Yeah, something like this. Maybe, do you have any?
Yeah, and when I'll be looking at the consonants, I think
Sorry?
when I'll be looking at the consonants, is it better?
Why do we looking at the consonants?
No. When I will be looking at the consonants, I should be paying attention at the place and manner of articulation.
Yes.
Yeah, because they might share these features. Okay. Yeah.
This is really nice question. For some reason, I just skipped it in my mind. But yeah, this is really a good question. So while you're looking at your patterns, you're looking at the bare, for instance, bare vowels or bare consonants, but it also makes sense to look at the phonological features. So, for instance, backness, frontness, and so on and so on. And this can be done just at the let show, so more or less before the splitting everything. So imagine that we have what do we have? So imagine that we have this, and we have this unnested endic. And unnested endic is created where? Maybe here. So we have this A, B, and so on. So you filter out some vowels and then you replace them with features. For instance, over here. And you write down something like replace A with, I don't know, back or mid or something. And then you rerun your analysis using features, phonological features, and not just simple segments. And this is definitely will be there. Thank you for your question. It's this perfect question. Any other questions?
Not yet, probably.
I think I would like to hear something from Vanshu because I expect that Anya more or less familiar with this harmony and what we are. So today's material is more or less clear for, definitely will be clear for Anya, but I would like to focus on Vanshu's opinions now.
Because maybe I don't know the exactly example. You have showed the example, but maybe you can give me some Russian example because I have studied half year Russian language. So you can give me some words that have the harmony.
But we don't have any harmony in Russian.
Oh, so I have not so clear concept about harmony. So I know it's the first or the other position vowels influence other, but maybe it's not so near my native language and the language I have studied. So.
So maybe I provide more examples. Maybe that will make sense. That's what you're asking. Okay, sure. Probably there should be some assimilation, but I don't know. Is there any tone assimilation? Tone assimilation in Chinese? I don't know. So let's have more examples. So maybe we can go back to Harmony, well, Harmony Wikipedia, and maybe they will have more examples over there. So here is the example with the.
I'm not showing anything.
Okay, now I'm showing. So here we have this example from Hungarian, and the idea that we have. So here is the list of different vowel backness. Different features that are involved on this harmony. So it could be vowel backness. So for instance, we have where we have it. So we have, for instance, here I treat them actually as in the middle, but the idea that we have front vowels and the rest, and they are, so the vowel system somehow split it into two parts like this. And then if you have U, O, or A, then you have one type of ending in the, so one type of vowel in the all endings of this particular type, or another one. So this kind of split could be different. So it could be like this. So you care about whether it's low or high. And there is also possible to have what they have over here. So vowel backness, vowel high, roundness. Yes, roundness. So this is Turkic languages when you have assimilation, whether they are, so whether your vowel is round or not. So for instance, you can, and each vowel could be round or not. So for instance, you have E, but you have round alternative like U. You have E, and the vowel round alternative like Ö. You have U and non-round alternative like U. You have U and non-round alternative like O, and so on. So more examples probably should be here. Mouse and over here. Here is an example of Korean. Why? Yeah, and another thing that actually I little bit I don't like it much is tongue root harmony. That's something that will be absent in our data, but it was developed for African languages and then spread into Asian languages. So it found in different, so probably Korean here is just because of this tongue root, advanced and rejected tongue root harmony. This is a little bit, it's not so straightforward, so I will skip it. And there is also possible to have nasalization spread. So it's possible that if you have nasalized vowel, then it spreads all over the word. Okay, so here are some examples. Maybe I will skip Turkic. So here is the front and back. So A, E, 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 something E like. What do they mean? I don't know. O, U, and E. And they have this story about LAR, but it's whether we have some examples. Yeah, maybe look at the Turkish then. So we have three words. We have ip, rope, and el, that is hand, and kuz, that is girl. And this ending in genitive singular is in, because this is a front vowel. E is a front vowel, E is a front vowel. So the vowel over here in the genitive marker is in. But since U is back vowel, that's why they have the ending un and not in. The same story about the same story is about plural form. So we have front vowel. That's why we have E here. So it's ipler or eller. This is like hands and ropes. But when we have non-front vowel, then yeah, so here we have the table with the front vowels and non-front vowels. Then we have a, except of e. So here is correspondence. So for instance, there is an ending that is unspecified feature. So it's possible to have e or u. And when we're talking about this vowel, it will be e or a. So that's why we have in nominal plural, we have ler or we have lar. And this is weird story, but in Turkic, they also have round feature as a assimilation. So I expect, it's not here. It's here, so we don't care about it. So when we have genitive plural, we have the same story. They have a agglutinative morphology. So we have ler, ler, so it repeated over here. And when we add the genitive marker, it will be iplerin or ellerin. But when we have back vowel, then it became kuz, lar, un, and so on. So the vowel in these markers are governed by the vowel in the verb or in the root. So is it clear? So this is one morpheme, lar and ler, or in or in. It's the same morpheme, but it have different realization, and we treat them as so. For instance, lir and lar, we treat them as unspecified. For instance, I don't know, mid vowel and something like this. Maybe it's a bit more complicated, but never mind. So here is another example. There is also, they have a round harmony, but maybe it's not so important now. And probably there are some examples of other languages. Hungarian.
I have a question now.
Yeah, cool.
You said, like, when I mentioned phonology, you said it was a phonological feature, like phonological thing. But why is it? Why isn't it like a big one? Because like when you look at a suffix, like it probably has like one what is it called? Like a single structure on like that deep level of representation or whatever it's called, and on the surface structure it has like two representations which are called allomorphs. What is it in English? Yeah, I think it is so why isn't it just a phonetic thing? Why you saying it's also phonological?
Oh, okay. Well, this is a little bit philosophical question, but I can deal with it. It's really rare when you have actual, so you can, so it's, so the fair question, it's possible to, so this is actually depends on your phonological theory. It's, there is a huge story about under specification. And but where when I, so for instance, let's get back to this Turkic example. And I think maybe I will take this example over here. So it's possible to treat it like this. So we have kız plus some unspecified feature and then n. And when we spell it out, we know that this become this. Oh no, this become this in, oh no. Poof. In the context of back, maybe this is plus back, something like this. And this is, became this in minus back. And this is like phonetic realization, and so on and so on. So we just treated, so this phoneme, this is one phoneme. This is an abstract phoneme that doesn't have any representation, actual representation. It have two representations when we spell it out. But when we have what, this one, so again, this plus this will be realized as this. No, as this. And as this. Something, no, I want to increase it this way. So this could be one phonological description that it is widely spread now. So in most cases, you will describe it this way. So you have some new unit that actually is unspecified to some features. And then it somehow get the features from the root. So when they are touches, they are like, hello, what kind of features do you have? Oh, it's plus back, then I will become plus back. And it's achieve its specification from the other units. But this is probably, it's not the only possible phonological explanation. It's possible to explain to have some other explanation that will treat, there is no any, so it's also possible to treat it like this. So for instance, we have this, and then this become this in this context. So this is another phonological explanation. So we have E all the time, but E becomes if the vowel before is back. And this explanation is even like have a less rows as in the description. I'm not saying that it's the best, but this is two possible phonological explanation, and you clearly know what the next phonological explanation could it be. It could be that everything is U. So here we have it. Here, 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 and then it's E. And like this. This is the third version. That's why I call it phonological playground, I would say, because you can have actually three different descriptions. One of them could be treated as an elegant one. I would say this one is actually elegant one because you somehow don't make any decision about this model, but you come up with a new unit. Here you don't come up with the new units, but you make an arbitrary decision that everything is E or everything is A. But this is like, for me, it's just phonological play. Both will be correct, and there is no any way to decide whether which of them is better. Yeah. The problem with this, why it's impossible to decide, because I always like to say it because when you have a logical description, it's nice to have something like goal. If you don't have any goal, you want to create just a logical description, you don't care which version suits you. It depends on the researcher. When you have some goals, for instance, you want to implement in this kind of, I don't know, computer program that works with it. Maybe it's better to sometimes some solutions are better for some programs. But now programs became smarter, and probably in the only program of morphological analyzer that I know, all three solutions could be done. So it again, so the distinction between them won't harm much in time production or time analysis. And well, maybe it will, but it will be like tiny milliseconds that linguists, I would say, don't care about. Am I answered your question? It took me a little bit long, but I have a feeling that for me, I answered your question, but now we realize that you asked another, so different question or something like this. It's nice time to realize this.
I think I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think you answered my question. Thank you.
Ah, cool. Cool. Wanshu, are you satisfied with these examples?
Yeah.
Cool. So, but again, let me repeat this again. So we don't have this in Nakhtagistani languages. As far as I know, because all morphology there is actually brought there through, so we have this term, then we, so we have this term, then for noun morphology, for instance, then in order to, so, and this is absolutive, then we have oblique stem, and then we have some endings. And this set of endings in most Andic languages is the same. Sometimes there will be some variability, but it depends not on the phonology. Definitely, it's something else. So choose of this oblique stem is a little bit lexical information. So it's possible that you will, so your patterns that you will find somehow make clearer something about these oblique stems. But there is definitely one set of endings, and they don't care about the vowels in there. So there is no like two sets of endings for like in all of those languages with harmony. But I do believe that there are some tendencies of vowel appearance that could be found and should be interested. That's why I call it quasi-harmonic effects and not like pure harmony. So quasi-harmonic effects versus pure harmony. Sounds a little bit Buddhist. So do you have any questions about this? I think we covered more or less my theoretical background that I can provide to you. So that's all my thoughts that I have on this topic. Maybe I will have some new thoughts, but I think that's the theoretical part is here. So for the next time, I expect you to solve your software problems. So if you have them, so play around with the code, try to solve, so implement some, so for instance, removing consonants for Wanshu or vowels for Anya. And maybe try to play around with this. So is it possible for you to write down the code that will remove and remove all vowels, for instance, and replace them with the feature of whether it's front or back, something like this. Or for consonants, whether it's labial, dorsal, velar, uvular, or laryngeal, something like this. I would like you to solve those technical problems right away. And the next time, I think that after this, we'll try to search for the literature and maybe try to find some new ideas, fresh ideas, and not those ideas that coming solely from myself. Okay. So the task for, so is it, what time do you prefer? So next Tuesday at 2 or Friday? What do you want?
Well, as for me, I can do it on Tuesday, even though usually it's convenient for me, but not this time. I'll be working, and like since we have like these exams, I won't be able to get everything done by Tuesday. So maybe Friday again.
Okay. You still have those exams?
Well, we have a few deadlines, like on Sunday and on Monday. Yeah, and these are essays. So yeah, that's a lot of work.
Okay. Monday sounds like the day that before Tuesday, but maybe I'm mixing something up. But
yes,
anyhow,
yes, but I still have to go through the script and I mean to do something before the meeting. So
yeah, sure. It was a joke. So Friday, let's have a Friday then. And so Friday 11, is it okay for you? Cool. Then settle it. So let's then call it a day and call it a call.
yeah,
And
thanks a lot.
so see you next Friday, or maybe even earlier. And good luck with your exams or something. No, maybe we don't. So I think the next instrumental phonetic class will be after your exams, so don't bother me. Okay. So good luck.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for coming. Bye. Maybe I will stop share and end the meeting.